Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, INEC gives assurance of its readiness to conduct the general elections, insists that the February the 14th date remains unchanged. President Jonathan launches documents to tackle security challenges facing the country. Federal government raises alarm over plan by persons to sell permanent voters' cars to potential suicide bombers. And Western leaders head to Ukraine with a new peace initiative as fighting intensifies in the east of the country.
On Business News tonight, mixed reactions trail three-day rally at the stock market.
And in sports news, Tunisia risks being banned from the next Africa Cup of Nations for accusing CAF of cheating.
The president has launched Nigeria's national security documents aimed at tackling the various security challenges facing the country. The launch of the documents formed part of the agenda of today's Council of State meeting, which held at the presidential villa. President Goodluck Jonathan said the documents would address general security matters, terrorism in particular, as well as cyberspace security.
Boko Haram, a radical Islamic sect, in its bid to further its misguided cause, this cowardly group has continued the wanton destruction of lives and property, particularly in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states. Counter-terrorism strategy document is a major contribution to our determined national efforts to effectively and comprehensively deal with the challenges posed by Boko Haram and other insurgent groups. Cyber security plan and strategy aims to formulate cohesive measures for addressing the nation's cyberspace exposure and risks. As designed, the publication will be of immense benefit to all stakeholders in the business as well as the information, technology, and communication sector, with cyber transactions booming. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria's national security strategy, national counter-terrorism strategy, and cyber security strategy are clearly linked to the peace, security, and progress of West Africa, and the world at large. Nigeria must be a major part of the stability response, especially in Africa. The launching of these three documents is only a symbolic gesture that must be underpinned by concrete and proactive actions and measures. I therefore implore all security agencies to adopt the vision and principles contained in the documents. I also recommend the publication to civil society organizations, relevant stakeholders, and Nigerians in general. These documents will no doubt contribute immensely to our collective efforts at finding solutions to the security challenges which pose a threat to our progress and development efforts. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to formally launch the National Security Strategy. The National Counter-Terrorism Strategy and the Cyber Security Plan and Strategy. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all.
Nigeria's President, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, was staying with the National Council of State meeting, which ended this evening after about 8 hours of discussion, with members insisting that the general elections must proceed as scheduled. The outcome of the council meeting appears to have calmed the anxiety generated across the country ahead of its deliberations today. Briefing State House correspondents, the Ondo State Governor Olusegun Mimiko and his Imo State counterpart Rochas Okorocha, said INEC gave the council the assurance of its readiness to conduct the elections and that the distribution of permanent voters' cards was going on well. Mr. Okorocha said the nation's security chiefs also said that they are ready for the elections, but raised concern about the possibility of elections holding in areas under the control of Boko Haram insurgents. Our State House correspondent Chukuma Onekwuse reports.
Goodluck Jonathan presided over the Council of States meeting. For over 7 hours, the country's highest advisory body deliberated on issues bordering on the nation's security and the impending elections. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Atahiru Jega, and the nation's security chiefs were said to have made presentations that may have given the council some confidence that the elections can hold. First to speak is Governor Olusegun Mimiko of Ondo State.
Essentially, the state of preparedness of INEC for the election was on the table. INEC had the benefit of input from council members and from security chiefs across all the security agencies. And based on the very exhaustive discussion and the pieces of advice, INEC, which is a body constitutionally empowered, on the basis of discussions, brief the nation and take the appropriate decision, and then this will be communicated to you.
His Imo State counterpart further expatiates on the outcome of the meeting.
Reports coming from INEC indicates that INEC has said they are very, very ready to conduct the election, and the security agencies have shown concern about certain local governments where they have security challenges. But INEC has the powers to conduct election, including fixing date for elections. And so Council rules that INEC should then inform the nation as to their preparedness and proceed to conduct elections.
State House correspondents could not let him go without clarifying on whether the 14th February and 28th February dates still stand.
When INEC said they are ready, they are ready. But Council of State said to them, you go, and if you have any difficulties, let us know. There's no difficulty, as you have said. Go ahead and conduct the election.
That put sped to the controversy between your party and PDP over...
There's no controversies anymore. We're fine. We're all right.
And the election holds.
There must be an election in Nigeria. Definitely, election will hold.
No talks about postponement from today.
No, we're not talking about postponement. It's only INEC to go and perform their responsibilities.
The INEC chairman had said in the past that the elections must hold. He still has the responsibility to tell the nation again, if it can, with assurances of protection of lives and property, especially in the troubled states in the northeast. Chukuma Onwekwuse, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the federal government has advised Nigerians to jealously guard their permanent voters' cards, as it has uncovered plans by some persons to purchase the cards for female suicide bombers. At a news conference in Abuja, the coordinator of the National Information Center, Mr. Michael Mary, says the government will sustain the successes recorded in the fight against terrorism by ensuring the security of all Nigerians during and after the elections.
Recent intelligence indicate that some unscrupulous Nigerians have perfected plans to surreptitiously collect, buy, or steal the permanent voters' cards of female voters, hand over same to female suicide bombers, and create access for them into polling centers where they will detonate bombs and kill unsuspecting voters. By this information, therefore, Nigerians, especially female voters, are warned to remain vigilant and also jealously guard and preserve their PVCs to avoid the possibility of their being lost or used by these bad elements who would put them towards PVCs.
Now, staying with the elections, the International Criminal Court has warned Nigerian politicians to desist from using or supporting any hate campaign, language or activity that will incite violence or bloodshed in the country during and after the elections. The court's Director of Jurisdiction and Cooperation, Pasiko Mochachoko, who is leading an information collection team to Nigeria, told journalists in Abuja that the court will prosecute any Nigerian found culpable. He said the court is currently gathering information on allegations of ongoing abuses in northeastern Nigeria by both the insurgents and government troops. Well, the call for the conduct of the 2015 general elections as scheduled has received more support as civil society activists insist that the issue of permanent voters' cards is no excuse for postponement, and this call came before the outcome of today's council state meeting. The activists are demanding that INEC hold general elections this month to prevent violence across the country. They say this conclusion is drawn from a recent finding of their election viability poll and security threat assessment across the country. Our correspondent Gloria Umezoke reports.
We will not accept any postponement.
In the last 1 week, the All Progressives Congress and their supporters have remained unyielding in their demands for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, not to postpone the general elections. Nevertheless, some groups remain adamant that the elections be postponed. This controversial issue has gained the support of some civil society activists who say postponement of the elections might be giving way to full-blown violence across the country.
This whole PVC thing has been turned to another new campaign for the excuse for those who have ulterior motives for asking for postponement of elections. And we cannot continue in their narrative. There is even a plan B by INEC to ensure that even on election day, they can come with the PVCs to the polling units.
Narrating its findings on its security threat observation ahead of the elections, the executive director of the Clean Foundation noted that 21 states, including Adamawa, Gombe, Kano, Imo, Rivers, Bayelsa, Taraba, Niger, amongst others, have remained in the red, indicating they're violence-prone.
It is believed right now that any effort to postpone the elections would be violently resisted. If INEC keeps its office open and there's aggressive awareness raising on getting people to come out to come and pick their PVCs between now, Monday, Tuesday, why wouldn't it be possible?
Lastly, this whole thing about accord is a ceremony. A ceremony cannot take over the real thing. The real thing is the law governing what you do with hate speech. If you beat up somebody on election day, there is something called assault. If you murder on election day, it is murder, it is not election violence. Those who have responsibility to make the law work should make it work.
As it stands, INEC has confirmed the distribution of only over 45 million PVCs in less than 2 weeks to the elections. Clearly, there are fears that many might be disenfranchised, but how the electoral umpire, all parties, would address this lacuna is the anxiety now. Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, subscribers to a failed housing scheme disrupt Nigeria Labour Congress meeting with politicians in Abuja. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.